Act I. Dawn's whisper. The morning light filters into the classroom, painting the walls in hues of pale gold and casting gentle shadows that dance across the room like delicate spirits stirring from slumber. I sit at my desk, feeling the chair creak softly beneath me as the cool air brushes against my skin. A sense of calm wraps around me like a well-worn quilt. With hands clasped, I close my eyes and whisper, "Shepherd of my soul, guide me today. Give me patience and wisdom." The bell rings, shattering the stillness and breathing life into the room. Children pour in, their chatter becoming a lively symphony. Writing the day's lessons on the board, the chalk crumbles, echoing the day's upcoming challenges. Lord, grant me strength, I breathe, seeking solace in prayer as I continue with renewed resolve. The classroom vibrates with energetic life, each child's voice a unique note in a harmonious cacophony. Among them, Emily sits hunched at her desk, eyes fixed on the floor, her worn clothes in the shadow of hunger in her gaze. Tug at my heart, I recognize these signs, the signs of burdens far too heavy for a tender age. At lunchtime, as students scatter, Emily lingers with her hands resting quietly. I approach with a discreetly concealed sandwich. "Emily, would you like to share lunch with me?" Her eyes shimmer with gratitude, a sight and understanding passing between us. I offer a silent prayer, "Holy One, thank you for this moment. Use me to do your will," hoping this simple act of sharing plants a seed for future hope. The afternoon slips into a soft rain, droplets tapping against the windows like whispers from heaven. The classroom, now empty, bears the remnants of the day's adventures. I sit in the quiet, weary yet uplifted. "Shepherd of my soul," I whisper in gratitude. "Thank you for your guidance today." Gathering my belongings, I feel the day's weight and step into the echoing hallway. Rain washes away fatigue as droplets kiss my cheeks. I feel peace ripple through me, guiding my thoughts to organize a secret lunch fund for children like Emily. This simple gesture feels profound, anchored by a purpose not my own, a mission revealed in prayer, and each raindrop a divine promise. Night embraces with darkness, cloaked in the soft murmur of rain. I rest my head on the pillow, enveloped in serene silence. The rain's rhythm a lullaby. Lord of mercy, I pray. I surrender my plans to you. Transform them with your love, with your grace. The rain soothes my spirit, its melody a balm for weariness, assuring me this path is ordained by wisdom greater than mine. It's not my strength, but His guiding each step. The day concludes not in exhaustion, but in the fulfilled promise of a calling realized through acts of love and whispers of hope. Holy One, humble my heart to listen for your voice. Where there is need, grant me the courage to act. Let my hands be your hands, extending grace. Thank you for the gift of service and the wonder of your guidance. Amen. Amen. Grace on the mountain road, red eye, the unsent letter, Dawn gently lit the winding mountain road, its golden glow sketching secrets held like an unsent letter. These secrets, like words meant for my father, tugged at my heart, a reconciliation never realized. The wind played through crimson leaves, murmuring unspoken words that pressed on my soul, stirring a longing too strong to ignore. Each step echoed missed conversations, while the air, pine-scented and earthy, whispered of nature, shared mourning for words unsaid. Kneeling on the rough stone, its coldness pricking my knees, I exhaled into the autumn mist. Lord of mercy, I whispered, hoping the rustling trees heard my fragile voice. My heart is troubled, show me how to reach him, to let go of pride and fear. It was the beginning of healing, the first fragile step. Silence wrapped around me, except for nature's whispers. In that stillness I sensed a sacred pause, an invitation to listen. Peace cradled my heart, reminding me that grace starts slow where surrender begins. The mountains seemed to bow with me in solidarity, each rock witness to my transformation. The cold stone, the ancient chapel perched on the valley's edge, with its door ajar, called out to weary travelers inside. Cool air mingled with the scent of aged stone, creating a sanctuary echoing centuries of whispered prayers. But beneath it, my heart clattered with unresolved emotions. Past arguments with my father were stones in my chest. I moved forward the narrow aisle, funneling my doubts toward the altar. The floorboards creaked in empathy with my burdened soul. I knelt, breathed out a wavering sigh, and clasped my hands. Shepherd of my soul, I prayed, my voice trembling with flickering candlelight. Lost in my own wilderness, help me lay down my pride. Show me the way to him. Silence followed, bringing calm like a promise on the breeze. The chapel seemed to breathe with me, drawing me closer to the divine whisper of change inside. A nudge urged actionable grace like sunlight breaking through doubt. The turning call, exiting the chapel, the road seemed new as prayer cleared the air, the sky, a tapestry of colors with the sun radiantly lighting the path. Scattered light across leaves, a promise kept with each step. Thoughts turned toward action, resolve building within. Fear no longer halted, grace's flow. My fingers grip my phone, now a lifeline of reconciliation to bridge the silence, this chasm. Each step felt guided, urging a recall a pilgrimage toward redemption. Each footfall beat hope into my heart's rhythm. At the mountain's edge, the landscape mirrored my heart's vast expanse, absorbing my journey's story. The earth beneath hummed with intonation. With trembling fingers I dialed his number. Each ring ticked toward a new beginning. Dad, I began, my voice steady yet vulnerable. Strength and fragility entwined. I'm sorry. Can we begin anew? The pause felt eternal, but I sensed the holy presence enfolding us. Gray smooth regrets edges, healing threads stretched across our distance. His quiet response bridged the expanse, reconciliation beginning under the mountain's ancient embrace. Lord of mercy, you guide my steps toward humility and peace. Help me walk softly in your grace, releasing fear to embrace love. Let your light shine through my actions. Amen. At night, shadows of doubt, the rain falls softly tonight. Each droplet a gentle whisper against the ancient stone path that meanders through the seminary grounds. To the chapel, the steady patter creates a symphony, blending harmoniously with the rustling leaves that dance. Into the night's gentle breeze, the ground's usually filled with the vibrant energy of students, are now cloaked in a serene stillness. Save for nature's quiet hymn, it's as if the earth itself has entered a sacred vigil, urging all creation to turn inward to seek solace beneath the myriad stars, cloak behind the thick rain clouds. I stand before the chapel door, the slick, rain-kissed wood cool under my hesitant fingers. Beyond this threshold, worn flickers invitingly, a stark contrast to the chill that clings stubbornly to my troubled spirit. I hover at the entrance, feeling caught between the tangible realms of entrance and escape, aware that crossing into this sacred sacred space represents more than a physical act. It embodies a confrontation, a silent vow to face the turmoil that grips my soul. The interior is serene, the shadows softened by the glow of a solitary lamp. Its flame dances with an elegance that belies the storm within me. Father Thomas sits quietly in the front pew, a silhouette of serene contemplation, a steadfast beacon amidst my internal tempest. I slip silently into a seat several rows behind him, my heart bearing the weight of a question that threatens to drown me. Can I truly walk this path if doubt shadows the very integrity I hold dear? Apple holds its breath, the sacred space infused with the essence of countless prayers that have risen up like incense through the centuries. I close my eyes tightly and let the unrest of my heart spill forth my whispered plea, mingling with the chapel's profound silence. Lord of mercy, I am lost. Am I deceiving myself? Or is this path truly yours for me to follow? Silence wraps around me, thick and almost tangible, yet through it the lamp burns with unwavering resolve. The shadows its light casts seem to hold a life of their own, gently probing the unseen corners of my soul, as if yearning to reveal hidden truths I open my eyes to see. Father Thomas unmoving, a statue of tranquil faith amidst the tumult of my heart. His presence is an anchor, a silent testimony to the patience and grace I seek. A soft breeze slips through a hidden crack in the stone, bearing the earthy scent of rain that mingles with the old wood and venerable stone. The lamp's flame flickers in the gentle draft, casting new shapes that dance across the chapel's walls. I watch, my heart aching for clarity, a sign that God sees my plight. A flicker of light, time seems to stand still, the minutes stretching into an expanse of eternity. Slowly, with the tenderness of dawn's first light, a warmth begins to unfurl within me, echoing the lamp's steady glow. A whisper touches my soul, subtle yet unmistakable, guiding my restless spirit. Let integrity guide your path. It is not a command, but an invitation, acknowledging the struggle while urging trust that integrity once chosen would illuminate the way. The lamp flickers, a mimicry of the burgeoning hope within me. I rise, my movements cautious, as though I tread upon sacred ground. Father Thomas turns his eyes, meeting mine with a gentle smile that requires no words. His nod is a benediction, a silent granting of grace. I know what must be done, the course set not by certainty, but by faith alone. With newfound courage, the rain is softened to a gentle murmur as I leave the chapel. The world left gleaming clarity. I walk now with renewed purpose, my mind no longer mired in disarray, as the whisper of divine guidance beats steadily in my heart. My doubts remain, yet they no longer imprison me. Instead they propel me toward deeper and distill me and cracked earth. As dusk fell over the parched fields at Elias, the farmer stood amidst the cracked earth, a lone figure against the dimming horizon. The land, weary beneath the relentless sun, lay desolate and barren. The rhythmic chorus of cicadas filled the air, a haunting testament to survival against all odds. A slight breeze whispered through the dry stalks, rustling like the pages of an ancient tome. Shadows stretched around Elias as he surveyed the once abundant fields. Kneeling in the dust, Elias removed his wide-brimmed hat, revealing a furrowed brow and eyes clouded with worry. His calloused hands clasped tightly in prayer. "O Lord of mercy," he began, his voice a mere whisper carried by the wind. "I come to you weary and burdened. This land you've given me, it thirsts for your grace. Show me your way, for I am lost without your guidance." He breathed in the coolness of the impending night, feeling a quiet reassurance of the Lord's presence, as if the Holy One himself stood beside him. A silent strength in his lonely communion. The stars emerged cautiously above, like watchful eyes witnessing the resolve of a man in prayer. The weight of the world seemed to lift slightly, like a long-held sigh released. Had passed the land dry and unyielding, Elias trudged through his crop rows, searching the horizon for hope. Each footstep crunched on the brittle earth, echoing his inner despair. This arid world wore on him, seeping into his bones and soul. Every prayer seemed suspended, unanswered, swallowed by the vast sky. His heart, once fertile with dreams, now mirrored the unforgiving soil, cracked and parched. At sunset, Elias found himself at the lone sycamore at the field's edge, a silent witness to his labors. Resting against its trunk, he poured out his heart once more. "Shepherd of my soul," he spoke, thirsting for solace. "I've given as I could, yet I see no fruit. Teach me to give without seeking reward, to trust without pride. Let my hands be vessels of your peace, my heart open to your will." In surrender, Elias felt a stirring, a gentle nudge whispering, "Help your neighbor, together you shall weather this drought." The leaves of the sycamore rustled in agreement with a divine will. The sowing of kindness with renewed purpose, Elias rose, the path home illuminated by warm lights from orange windows, promising comfort. He thought of his neighbor, Greta, a widow with young children, struggling to keep her plot alive. The Holy One's guidance was clear. He had stored grain to sustain Greta's door. Her surprise blossomed into gratitude, her smile a testament to God's plan. Together they sowed the precious grains into the earth, each act of labor a silent prayer. Here was life in its most sacred form, hope shared, burdens lightened, each seed a promise, a whispered testament to faith. Their hands worked in harmony, aligning rows with care, orchestrating a silent hymn of trust and fellowship. The children gathered round, their laughter a joyful chorus under the sun. A week later, the sky grew gray with clouds as Elias tended the shared fields with Greta and her children. The first drops began to fall, cool and blessed. Elias paused, feeling the rain mingle with tears of relief. Every droplet an orchestra of grace. The Holy One had been merciful. It was a baptism of the land and their spirits, an affirmation of hope restored. The children danced in the rain, their laughter rising to the heavens, their joy unrestrained, a reflection of the unfolding miracle. The dry earth sighed with relief, soaking in the life-giving water. Lord of the harvest, in your wisdom you teach us to give, to open our hearts in earnest prayer, expecting not a reward. Guide our hands to sow peace, our words to bless. At time, a night of ashes. The sirens had long faded into the velvety backdrop of night, leaving the air heavy with the acrid residue of smoke, a pungent reminder of chaos and devastation. Jack stood immobile, his eyes glued to the skeletal remains of what once was a family home, now a silhouette of charred beams and ash. The fire had been unrelenting, an insatiable beast that spared nothing in its wake. Jack's smoke-stained jacket was a testament to the peril he had braved, wading through the inferno to pull the family to safety. But the fire's merciless fingers had reached farther than his courage, and not all were saved. The rain began its descent softly, a gentle patter that seemed to soothe the parched, scorched earth. Each drop felt like a tender caress on Jack's weary skin, yet his heart remained tightly wound, a knot of survivor's guilt resisting any attempt at unraveling. In his pocket lay a small drawing, its edges singed by the fire. It was a child's drawing, simple, etched with innocence. The child, a girl no older than 10, had pressed it into his sooty hands as she was whisked away by the paramedics to safer ground. Beneath the muted glow of a solitary street lamp, Jack unfolded the crumpled paper. It depicted a family, stick figures holding hands beneath a sun that wore a perpetual smile. One figure stood apart, arms wide open as though inviting the others, all joyous despite the evident divide. This semblance of hope, sketched with a child's simplicity, weighed on him like lead, a bittersweet reminder of the lives altered irrevocably. as the night's solemn rain washed over the world, painting it in Rafetki hues. Jack fell to his knees. The asphalt cut into him, cold and unyielding. "Lord of mercy," he whispered, his voice fragile like autumn leaves carried on the wind. "Why couldn't I save them all? I did what I could, but it's not enough." He let the still night carry his questions skyward, each word a plea edged with pain, casting it into the vast unknown, hoping for an answer. The Wixura of the night. Jack lingered there, his head bowed beneath the silent strength of the rain, feeling the reins of his guilt tighten their grip on his soul. The question of worth gnawed at him incessantly, a storm brewing within. Yet in that silent vigil, amidst the gentle symphony of raindrops, came a whisper, an ethereal nudge, not of his own making. "Listen, my child," it seemed to say like a breath carried on the wind, tender and poignant. "In your striving, do not forget the ones you have saved. Walk the path of wholeness by seeing through the eyes of grace, not judgment." Jack's heart, bruised and restless, felt a stirring within, a warmth spreading across the cold expanse of his spirit. He inhaled deeply, letting the night air fill his lungs, a potent blend of rain and renewal enveloping him. With each breath, he became acutely aware of the sacred simplicity, the boundless enormity of life amidst its ruins. He realized then that he had not been alone during the flames, nor in the echoing recesses of his anguish. The shepherd of his soul had walked beside him, emboldening his resolve, steadying his hands even in the shadow of regret. A step toward wholeness. With the dawning light, Jack rose. The night's rain had left the world cleansed, and the clear sky now hinted at a gentle promise of new beginnings. As he stood at the threshold of the sunlight-dappled street, a shift had occurred within him. The guilt lingered, but it was now muted, transformed into a deep yearning for action. With a purposeful stride, he made his way to the hospital where the girl lay recovering. A survivor like himself, his heart, though heavy, was buoyed by an underlying current of healing. The nurse at the entrance greeted him with a soft smile as he entered, and the girl's eyes lit up, shining like beacons of resilience and life. Taking his cue, he knelt beside her bed, unfolding the drawing she had entrusted to him. Her smile broadened, illuminating her face, a sight that rekindled the embers of hope within him. "I wanted you to have it," she said, her voice a melody steeped in innocent courage. "Thank you," he replied, his voice anchored in the present moment. "It reminds me of what's truly important." As he prepared to leave, Jack turned back to her, his voice gentle and filled with newfound wisdom. "Sometimes," he said, "we're asked to walk paths we do not understand. But it is in that walking we find strength we never knew we had." Holy One, teach my heart to see the blessing in life's ashes. Guide my steps on the path of wholeness and grace. Let your voice be my compass, The sky was awash with hues of ember and indigo, swirling together as dusk gently descended upon the weary city. Long shadows stretched like ethereal fingers from the charred remains of what had once been a lively home, casting an eerie tranquility, as if the house were reluctant to let go of its former warmth. Mark stood against the cooling brick wall, his clothes and spirit alike, stained by smoke and fatigue around him. The neighborhood began to stir from its stupor, people carefully emerging from the cocoon of safety they'd retreated to, much like timid forest creatures after a storm. Amidst them was a little girl, her face a mixture of dirt and curiosity, standing out like a beacon of innocence in the somber landscape. She approached Mark with tentative steps, hesitating only briefly before extending her tiny hand. In it was a drawing, radiant in its simplicity. A house filled with stick-figure people, colored lights spilling joy from every window. A stark contrast to the reality that lay behind him. Her offer, wrapped in a scent of unwavering hope, seemed almost sacred. "Why don't you take it?" she urged, her voice soft but insistent. Mark's calloused fingers trembled as he accepted the picture, feeling its warm paper, still alive with the comfort of her small hand. The day's weight pressed heavily upon him. The cries of rescue and desperation still roared in his mind, like relentless ocean waves crashing upon a solitary cliff. He clutched the drawing to his chest, inhaling deeply, trying to draw strength from the crisp evening air that filled his aching lungs. Closing his eyes, he felt the first flicker of peace since the inferno had raged. Night's darkness descended, the street lay quiet, bathed in the soft glow of a solitary street lamp, its light pooling around Mark like a protective halo. The warmth of the child's drawing seeped into him, igniting a tiny ember of hope deep within his soul. In this solitude, words of prayer began unbidden, though they felt as foreign as the night air on his lips. "Lord of mercy," he whispered, his voice a gentle ripple in the stillness, barely audible over the rustling leaves. "I don't know if I can carry this, the guilt, it's too heavy." His heart throbbed with an ache only the weary know, and tears traced unchecked paths through the soot on his face. Why was I spared when others were not? Help me, Lord, please. Silence enveloped him, a profound void that stretched into eternity, until a gentle breeze stirred the air. It brushed against his face with a soft caress, carrying with it the faint, comforting fragrance of pine, a divine whisper, a promise of solace and new beginnings. The turning point. The night pressed on, its chill a quiet companion, as Mark remained cloaked in the dim glow of the street lamp. He felt the comforting heat of the child's drawing in his pocket, a small, persistent flame against the encroaching shadows of his heart. Gradually, clarity began to dawn, a call not to dwell within his pain, but to rise above it, to transform it into light for others. "Shepherd of my soul," He prayed anew, his voice now stronger, more resolute. Guide me to bring light to this street again. To these people, show me the way to turn this darkness into something beautiful. His plea seemed to ripple through the night, and in response a vision unfolded within his mind. A vivid image of community rebirth, of people coming together not just to rebuild walls and roofs, but to rekindle hope and connection. He saw himself among them, not only as a helper, but as a bearer of light, offering his heart as well as his hands. With renewed resolve, Mark rose, the drawing a comforting weight in his pocket. He understood now what he must do. The days that followed were filled with bustling activity, guided by the silent prayer that resonated within Mark's heart. He became a beacon of encouragement, rallying the neighbors, coaxing each out from their post-trauma shells to offer their unique talents and resources. Together they cleared debris, painted walls with renewed vigor, planted flowers, and breathed life back into the street. The atmosphere reverberated with a newfound vibrancy, the echoes of laughter breaking through the lingering shadows of loss. The once empty house, now embraced by tender care, began to glow with warmth. Its windows served as a beacon of promising tomorrows. Every brushstroke, every kind act, a prayer that took tangible form, a testament to the capacity for human resilience.